I received a couple of requests to illustrate my storage system for Joan of Arc. This is just part of it. The other stuff is, I'll say, functionally thrown into a larger box, but when I have access to that material, I will follow up with this. I just wanted to give a quick rundown of how I did what I did, and maybe you can replicate it. There are certainly better ways to do this, but this is what worked for me. What you can see immediately is I have one of these cases. These are Sterilite stackable, what do you call it, Tupperware bins. You get them on Amazon. Basically, a pack of 4 will get you 8 of these bins. Then I have at the bottom here some sheet metal that I got from Home Depot. You can likely get it from any hardware store in their plumbing / ducting section. I bought a pair of tin snips. These are straight cut tin snips. One thing to watch out for when cutting with these, aside from extremely sharp metal edges, and general burrs and things like that, because these are extremely heavy duty, I'll say, is that when you are clipping, don't push all the way down with the scissors or tin snips or whatever. So when you're doing it, just don't do that. You're going to be doing a lot of this motion. The reason being is you'll end up folding some of the material. I had surgery on my wrist, so that's where the scar came from. So you'll end up sort of folding in the metal, and it's going to be a really rough, uneven cut, and it won't stay flat. This is not stuck down by anything other than gravity, and it has done wonders for several other miniature storage projects that I've done. I store my Malifaux in there like that. Frostgrave, Street Fighter miniatures game, etc. So many different things are just sheet metal and magnets. As for magnets, in these bases, I'm using a 5x2 neodymium or rare earth magnet, circle magnet. I have additionally, because I'll explain in a moment, but I have some 5x1s as well. These are all in millimeters. So you just throw a dab of glue down there. I use the gel glue for securing the magnets. For securing the minis to the bases, I use a liquid glue, just 1 drop. You're going to need a lot more than you think you do, because there's quite a lot of models in this game. And then you just kind of stick them on there. Something to be wary of is the glue from this will give off a fume that will frost whatever surface you put it on. So when you glue this in, don't immediately glue your models in. Just leave them sitting face up like that. And give it about 20-30 minutes. It'll dry, the fumes will evaporate, and you'll be okay. So, and that's basically it for that. You can see on some of these, and this will go into the filing system later, so to speak. I wrote, we'll focus, I wrote Ottoman Canon on the bottom of that, and over here I've got some Heretic Expiators, or these are just Heretic Devotees. The C4s from my spreadsheet when I used to organize those a little more. Eventually I'm going to write, once these are all organized in a way that I'm satisfied with, I'm going to write on the sheet metal, Devotee goes here, Bowman goes here, and so on, so that I can put them back where they go. That's the basic organizational structure. There are a couple of things that I'm currently experimenting with. Like I said, I have the 5x1s. That's a bad example here. In the Siege expansion, and as with many characters, they don't have dips in their bases. So I'm thinking the 5x1 magnet will allow me to just stick it on there, which is guaranteed to work. But what I'm worried about is when you put it on there, it might have a little bit of a wobble on the table, because the table is not magnetic. That said, I think the sacrifice is just fine. Or you could take a 5mm drill bit and cut out a very large amount of cereal box so that the magnet would sit flush, and you'd have a slightly taller character or sapper model. With these ones here, this is a siege expansion, I guess battering ram. I have another set of magnets that I got for organizing my Star Wars Armada. They are bar magnets. They are 5x2 by 10mm. In fact, I've got them here like this. They're big rectangle magnets. I would probably just pop one or two, say, on the bottom of the treads here. Maybe add some grass to it if I'm feeling very cheeky. Because otherwise it's going to slide around everywhere. But also, these are fairly durable models. It doesn't really matter. Not everything has to be perfect like that. Similarly, these bases are too shallow for the 5x2. This includes all mounted figures and the trebuchets. So that's what I got the 5x1 magnets for. Inside here, obviously, I wanted to make the most out of my space. Same sheet metal, cut. I didn't have to perfectly round the edges here. I just cut across. I cut a sheet of cardboard just underneath it. I taped a string with some masking tape. And see, as you can see, as I pull it up, the sheet metal is not glued to the cardboard at all. You can do that if you want, and I'm sure there are far more efficient ways to do this. But I glued 2 pieces of cardboard together, taped around it, and then I had some double-sided Velcro. This is entirely unnecessary. You could just glue a piece of foam board to the side. Make sure you make a sort of template so that these are all mounted at the same height, maybe about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch or a few millimeters above the tallest model in the range. So keep all your tall guys on the bottom, and then you just set this back in there. And it sits right on top. This innovation was made later because I realized I needed a screwdriver or something to pull out the thing. So it's extremely low tech, but it holds everything with the exception of the extremely large models. That would include things like the devil, the dragon, etc. And there are 3 models that are too tall for these containers. That would be the Wicker Man and 2 other ones. I think it's Magog and 1 other. Those are all kind of just in a bin. They have magnets, but they're just kind of in a bin at the moment while I figure out what to do with them. So that is this entire storage system. Materials you'll need, as I said earlier, you'll need some magnets. These are 5x1s and 5x2s respectively. Some straight cut tin snips, the models. Some gel super glue, some liquid super glue, and I highly recommend a thin Sharpie for labeling your models. I didn't need to model. These are the gunmen. I'm not going to try to pronounce French. The gunmen that came in the Siege expansion, they're going to get stuck into these bases here shortly. I did, for all of these, label every single model when I initially got the game, and that helped me identify which base to put them in. So these, I believe, are the expiators, yes. So you'll see the C5, that is my spreadsheet reference. But I labeled all those, glued them in, and that is the entirety of the Joan of Arc collection. The deluxe storage box is fantastic for storing all of the game components. I have the Apocalypse box storing all the terrain, and perhaps I'll find something else once I paint something. because I don't necessarily want them rattling around. But at the moment, the terrain is in one box, the game components are in another, and this is extremely portable with the handle and locking system that it has. I could just take it wherever I'm going. Largely I want to play in my own home, but it is available for me to do so. The last bit, I believe, forgive the pause while I think about this. This is unscripted. Yes, I don't know yet, so like all the rest of the siege equipment is going to go in here. As you can see, the trebuchets fit in there. That'll work itself out. I don't know if I'll need to make one more tray to store the characters, but with the way the characters are, many of them are just dudes on horses and are not so quickly identifiable. I can magnetize them, but I don't know if I want to, rather than keep them sorted into little baggies of like, this is a corset character, or this is a reliquary character, and so on, which is currently how they are stored. I want to magnetize them, but for ease of accessing them, they'll take up about half of one of these trays for all the characters, which is pretty impressive. I believe I've got... You see, I've got all the monsters and stuff stored in here. 4 horsemen, the Tarask, however you want to pronounce it. My Ottomans are all in here because the Sipahi and the Noble Cavalry are too tall to fit in one of these on a second level shelf. Nearly everybody, the Antichrist is here. Nearly everybody fits in here, and then I've got all my cavalry and demons and things like that, and this one down here. So it's all there. I'm just concerned about the characters being hard to find, if I want to play a game on the fly. But yeah, that's it. Sorry for the long video, but there's a lot to explain, which probably would take less time if I wrote it. But anyway, I'm going to finish this project probably today or tomorrow for the foreseeable future. And then many more games to come. Thanks.